Part 1. My brother stole the woman I was going to marry. Every structure has one critical point, one hidden spot where, if enough pressure is applied, everything comes crashing down. I'm a structural engineer. For 20 years, I've made a career out of finding those weak points before disaster strikes. But there was one structure I never thought to inspect: my own family. And by the time I discovered the crack, my twin brother was engaged to the woman I planned to marry. Yeah, you heard that right. My name is John Brown. I'm 45 years old and own an engineering firm in Richmond, Virginia. People trust me with bridges worth millions of dollars. But in 2020, I completely misjudged the people closest to me. Let's start with my brother, Garrett Brown, my twin, born 11 minutes before me. A fact he somehow managed to turn into a lifelong achievement. Growing up, Garrett always had a gift. He knew how to win people over. Teachers loved him. Neighbors loved him. Clients loved him. Meanwhile, I was the quiet one, the guy who stayed behind the scenes doing the actual work. After college, we both joined our father's construction company. I handled engineering, designs, inspections, technical reports. Garrett handled relationships and business development. Guess which one got all the recognition? Exactly. Our father, Donald, made it pretty clear from the beginning. Garrett was the future of the company. Garrett was the heir. I was just the guy helping build it. After 14 years, I'd had enough. I left, started over from scratch. No drama, no fight, just a decision. The best decisions are usually the quiet ones. A year later, I met Sarah. And for the first time in a long time, life felt right. Sarah was smart, funny, the kind of person who could make an ordinary conversation feel interesting. We dated for 3 years. By 2019, I had already bought the ring. A beautiful diamond ring, paid for in cash, hidden in my desk drawer. I had the proposal planned, the restaurant, the speech, everything. Then 2020 happened. COVID changed the world. Suddenly, everyone was isolated. Sarah started becoming distant. Calls got shorter. Texts took longer. Then one day, she said something that seemed reasonable at the time. I need some space. So I gave her space. Big mistake. Because the most expensive thing you can give the wrong person is trust. A few months later, the relationship was over. No huge argument. No dramatic breakup. Just silence. The kind of silence that tells you everything you don't want to hear. I was heartbroken, but I kept moving forward. What I didn't know was that Sarah hadn't disappeared. She had simply moved closer to someone else. Someone I trusted. Someone with my last name. And on Thanksgiving Day 2020, I was about to find out. I drove to my father's house carrying a pie, just like Sarah and I always did. I expected an ordinary family dinner. Instead, I walked straight into the worst moment of my life. And the person standing next to Sarah shocked me more than anything else. To be continued. Part 2. The Thanksgiving Betrayal. The moment I stepped into the kitchen, my world stopped. Sarah was standing by the counter, and Garrett had his arm around her. For a second, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The room felt frozen. Sarah looked at me. Garrett looked at me. And in that single moment, I knew something was very, very wrong. But I still wasn't prepared for what came next. We all sat down at the dinner table. My father poured wine. Margaret served dinner. Everyone acted like this was a normal family gathering, except it wasn't. Not even close. Then my father stood up and raised his glass. I remember every word. Here's to Garrett and Sarah on their engagement. The room went silent. My heart didn't break. It collapsed, like a bridge losing its main support beam. I looked at Sarah. She couldn't meet my eyes. I looked at Garrett. He looked guilty. Then I looked at my father. And that's when I realized something even worse. He already knew. Everyone at that table knew. Everyone except me. Months earlier, I had been planning to propose to Sarah. Now I was finding out she was marrying my brother, in front of an audience, at Thanksgiving dinner. I wanted answers. I wanted explanations. I wanted someone to tell me this was a joke. Instead, I calmly placed my glass on the table, folded my napkin, stood up, and said one word: Congratulations. Then I walked out. No shouting, no scene, no tears, just silence. The drive home felt endless. The ring was still sitting in my desk drawer. The same ring I had planned to give Sarah. The same ring she would never wear. The next morning I turned my phone back on. 23 missed calls. 11 from my father. 8 from Garrett. 4 from Margaret. 0 from Sarah. That 0 told me everything. She had made her choice, and it wasn't me. That day, I made a decision of my own. I wasn't going to waste my life chasing revenge. I wasn't going to beg for explanations. I wasn't going to fight for people who had already chosen someone else. Instead, I was going to build. I called my best friend, Danny. After listening to everything, he asked one question. What do you need? I answered immediately. I need to start my own company. Most people deal with heartbreak by going to the gym. I built a business. A month later, Reed and Brown Engineering was born. A tiny office, 2 rooms, 1 desk, a handful of clients, and a man with absolutely nothing left to lose. Over the next 3 years, I worked harder than I ever had before. Every contract mattered. Every client mattered. Every project mattered. Slowly, the company grew. Then one day, something happened that nobody saw coming. Not Garrett, not my father, and definitely not me. The same government contract my father's company had controlled for years was suddenly up for renewal, and this time I was bidding against them. What happened next changed everything. To be continued. And so do I. Part 3. Success is the best closure. By 2024, my company was thriving. The little office that started with 1 desk had become one of the most respected engineering firms in the region. Then came the opportunity. A government infrastructure contract worth millions. The kind of contract that can make or break a company. Brown Construction, my father's company, expected to win it. They always had. But this time, there was a problem. For years, their performance had been slipping. Meanwhile, my company had built a reputation for quality and reliability. When the final decision came in, we won. They lost. For the first time in my life, I wasn't standing in my brother's shadow. I was standing on my own. Then came the discovery that explained everything. During a legal dispute over the contract, my attorney uncovered old documents. One memo caught my attention. It had been written by my father in early 2020, months before Sarah asked me for space. The memo discussed securing financing for family business. One line changed everything. The bank wanted evidence of stable family leadership. My father believed Garrett's marriage would strengthen the company's image. I read the document twice, then a third time. Suddenly, pieces started falling into place. The timing, the support, the pressure. My father hadn't seen my relationship as a relationship. He had seen it as a business variable, a problem to be managed. A few weeks later, Garrett called, for the first time in over 3 years. His voice sounded exhausted. Then he told me something I never expected. Sarah had filed for divorce. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, he said, I don't have an excuse for what I did. After 4 years, this was the apology I thought I'd wanted. But strangely, it didn't feel important anymore, because my life wasn't built around that pain anymore. I told him the truth. I believe you're sorry. Then I added, but the conversation we should have had happened 4 years ago. Silence. Then he quietly said, you're right. A few weeks later, my father called. He wanted forgiveness, an explanation, maybe even relief from his guilt. Instead, I told him something he needed to hear. I'm not here to manage your feelings about what happened. For once in his life, he had to sit with the consequences himself. Months passed. Slowly, things changed. Not magically, not perfectly, but honestly. Garrett and I eventually met for coffee. 2 middle-aged brothers trying to rebuild something that had been broken for years. There were no dramatic speeches, no movie-style reconciliation, just 2 people finally telling the truth. Before we left, Garrett smiled and said, you were always the better engineer. I laughed, and you were always the better salesman. For the first time in years, the conversation felt real. A few months later, I sold the engagement ring, the ring that had sat untouched in a drawer for 5 years. I used the money to create a scholarship for an engineering student, because if that ring was supposed to help start a future, then I wanted it to help someone else's. Looking back now, I understand something important. Success isn't revenge. Success is freedom. Freedom from needing an apology. Freedom from needing justice to arrive exactly where you imagined. Freedom from letting old wounds control your future. My father traded my relationship for a business decision. My brother married the woman I planned to marry. Both of them have to live with those choices. But me, I built something stronger. A company, a future, a life. And every time I drive across one of the bridges my team helped strengthen, I'm reminded of a simple truth. Strong structures don't survive because they're never damaged. They survive because someone finds the cracks and fixes them before they collapse. That's exactly what I did with my life. The bridge still stands. And so do I.
Please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.